Get inside the high-ticket sale buyer's mindset. A lot of marketers simply do not understand the information that I share in this video. They think that people are robots. They think that generating an online sale is simply all about getting the right product in front of the right eyeballs and nothing else. I'm sorry to break this to you, but there's a lot of psychology at play. The bottom line is, if you want to convert high-ticket sales prospects, you have to think like them. You can't look at the situation purely from your perspective. Let's face it, your perspective is actually simple and straightforward. You want to make money. I get that. Everybody gets that. Who doesn't want to make money? But that's not the issue. The issue is, how do you get your high-ticket sales prospects to separate with their hard-earned cash? Believe me, that's a lot of cash that they're going to be separating themselves from, so you better give them a good reason. Unfortunately, it's very hard to get that reason if you don't think like them. The first step is to choose to think like them. People are not rational. The first thing that you need to wrap your mind around is this simple fact. When people make buying decisions, it's usually not rational. It's easy to think that this only happens within the context of impulse buying. For example, if you go on Amazon Kindle and there's a book that sells for 99 cents, it doesn't really take much thinking because you're really not losing anything. It's 99 cents. If you make the minimum wage in the United States of $7.50 per hour, that's less than 10 minutes of work for 99 cents. It's an afterthought. It's an impulse buy. The problem is, as you go up the cost ladder, it becomes tempting to think that people are not buying impulsively. Get that idea out of your head. The truth is, it's very obvious when somebody's buying something priced at 99 cents compared to something that's priced at $9,000. The reality is, they are operating within the same realm. I am, of course, talking about emotions. In a fairly recent study, researchers asked buyers why they made the decision that they made. They were also asked to fill out a questionnaire right before they bought. According to this study, when people came to their buying decision, they acted out of impulse. But when it comes time to explain why they did what they did, they came up with all sorts of reasonable-sounding explanations and justifications. The study's conclusion is unmistakable. People are based on impulse, read emotion, and then they justify it later on. High-ticket sales prospects are no different from people buying a pack of gum that is worth a few pennies. It's all about emotion. People want to be made to feel special. Knowing the information you have, when you try to get into your high-ticket sales customer's mindset, you have to ask yourself, how do I make this person feel special in this context? Of course, somebody who is paying $10 for something feels special in a certain way that is quite different from somebody spending $10,000. That person spending $10,000 also needs to feel special, but it has to be presented in a different way. Tap the power of exclusivity. Now that I've established that people do make buying decisions based on emotion, the next question to ask is, what kind of emotion? How do you present the emotional impulse? Thankfully, the answer is pretty straightforward. When somebody buys a high-end Mercedes-Benz, they're not just buying a car. They're not just buying something that proclaims to their neighborhood that they have money. No, they're doing something else. They're not just looking to satisfy a need that everybody else has. All of us need to get from point A to point B, but we all have different ways of meeting that need. Depending on our income, depending on how our city is set up, and depending on our culture and other factors, we can choose different options. Some people can take the bus. Others can take the train. Others would bike. Other people would walk. Some would buy a low-end car. Others would buy a mid-range vehicle. And even others would buy top-of-the-line luxury vehicles. Same need, different responses. When we're talking about high-ticket sales buyers' mindsets, understand that they have emotional needs that they need to satisfy in a different way. They're looking to satisfy a need that everybody has in a way that not everybody can do. This is where the idea of luxury, exclusivity, and specialness come in. When you are able to earn enough money to buy a high-end Mercedes, BMW, Rolls-Royce, or an Italian sports car, you are saying to yourself, I am special. I am rewarding myself with something that satisfies a need that everybody has. But I satisfy it in a way that is very different from how everybody else can satisfy the same need. This is the power of exclusivity. You have to wrap your mind around this concept because high-ticket sales buyers must be convinced that your solution is a way of satisfying a need that other people cannot readily use. Make them feel that they are getting something above and beyond what everybody's getting. High-end sales targets don't want what everybody else is getting. Now, we know at the end of the day that that's precisely what they're getting. A car is a car. It doesn't matter whether it has a Porsche logo or a Kia or a Hyundai logo. It doesn't matter if your car says Hyundai Eon in the back or has that BMW logo. A car is a car. It gets you from point A to point B. But when you highlight the luxury, the attention to detail, the professionalism of whatever product or service you are pushing, you satisfy a very important emotional need. High-ticket sales buyers are psychologically looking for something above and beyond what everybody gets. That's how you can get somebody to pay tens of thousands of dollars or more for a car. These are not egotists. They're not saying to themselves, I'm better than everybody else. No. In most cases, these people are looking to reward themselves, or they're simply looking for the highest value because they don't have the time to screw around when something goes wrong. This is especially true when you're selling services. The MBA assistance program that I use as a case study in the previous video catered to overseas professionals who cannot afford to drop the ball. That's why they pay top dollar. Get inside your customer's mindset. Look at the sales process and the sales funnel system from their perspective. Get this wrong, and you will end up building a high-ticket sales funnel that somehow, some way doesn't quite work. I'm not saying that you're not going to make a few $1,000s here and there. What I am saying is that you are not building an optimal system. It's 90% there, but it just doesn't produce the outcome that you had hoped for. Conducting a high-ticket sales campaign the hard way. To learn the ropes about anything, it's usually recommended to learn things the hard way. In other words, you go through a whole checklist of items, you pay your dues, and then after you are very familiar with the process, you start optimizing. You keep that up until you come up with a streamlined system that is very different from what you started with. At that later stage, you are able to do things faster, more efficiently, and at less cost. Still, you have to go through the initial stages and basically stumble around, make a lot of mistakes, and feel your way in the dark, so to speak. This is how most people pay their dues. Unfortunately, this is also doing things the hard way. I'd be irresponsible if I did not go through video 7 and video 8 with you, because this is how high-ticket sales campaigns are normally done. Unfortunately, for the vast majority of marketers who go through this process, they get chewed up and spit out. They end up failing. Still, I need to walk you through this before I reveal the secret sauce in video 8. To learn the ropes, you have to pay your dues and do things the hard way. Step number 1, pick a high-value niche. Go to Google Keyword Planner tool and look up the keywords related to your niche. Look up their cost per click value. This should give you a general idea of the value of that space. Now, please review the discussion in video 1 regarding niche valuation. Make sure that the niche you pick is a high-ticket sales niche. Often, things are not what they appear. Step number 2, develop a high-value brand in your target niche. Developing a high-value brand takes quite a bit of work and time. You must put out tremendous amounts of content and check the actual behavior of people interacting with your content. Do they click through deeper and deeper into the guts of your website? Or do they just click through a piece of content and then they bounce right back out? To develop a high-value brand, you must first focus on your winners. These are pieces of content that attract a lot of traffic from the internet. These are pieces of content that push people deeper and deeper into your site. Here's the secret. To build a high-value brand, you must focus on content that engages your target audience members. It's very tempting to think that this is just a matter of popularity. When you look at your statistics, whether it is Google Analytics or StatCounter, it's tempting to just go with the pages that get a lot of traffic. But you have to dig deeper than that. You have to look at where people go. Are people going to content that speak to the needs of high-ticket sales customers? Or are people just getting information, drilling deep into your site for more basic information, and then leaving? It should be obvious to you which you should focus on. Do not just replicate your strongest pages. If those strong pages are not about high-ticket sales, ditch them. Focus on pages that have a high-ticket value or appeal to high-ticket value customers and are also popular. Build on your strengths, scrap the rest. Step number 3, distribute content that filters your customer segments. When you build different pieces of content on your website, you use this to filter people based on whether they are your target high-ticket sales audience members or not. You should do the same with content that you share or post throughout the rest of the internet. At this point, I'm assuming that you already know the basics of content marketing. You share content in the form of comments, blog posts on third-party platforms, as well as logger posts and curated material on social media platforms. All of these condition people to go to your website. Your content on your website then serves to filter them and eventually convert them. That's how you play the game, or at least that's how you should play the game. It's really important to make sure that even that outer ring of content in your high-ticket sales niche filters your customer segments. In other words, you don't want tire kickers or people who are just looking for information but are unwilling to pay anything to even hit your website. Why bother? They're a waste of time. I know that sounds rude, but it's also the truth. Because you're trying to create a system that converts online traffic into a lot of money, you do not have the time to mess around with volume traffic that doesn't go anywhere. This is why you need to distribute content that filters your customer segments based on these other platforms. This way, only people who are truly willing to pay good money will end up on your site. Step number 4, make it easy for your audience to find you and keep in constant contact with you. When I say your audience, I'm talking about high-ticket salespeople. I'm not talking about generic information seekers. Forget those. Make it easy for them to find you. This means create social media profiles, identify hashtags on Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter that are directly related to your niche. Filter people on those platforms, and then get them to go to your website and convert them. In this context, conversion means getting them on your mailing list. This is how you keep in constant contact with them. Step number 5, send high-value content that segments your mailing list. Send high-value content to your mailing list, and then allow people to segregate themselves by joining sublists. At this point, there will still be people who are just looking for information. They will be in the minority, but if you don't manage this properly at this level, they're going to take a lot of your resources. You don't want list squatters because services like Aweber charge you money for the total size of your mailing list, regardless of whether they buy or not, and regardless of how active your list is. What if a significant chunk of your mailing list are just squatters? You're losing money monthly. Don't do it. This is why you need to send high-value content to your mailing list and get people to sign up to a sub-mailing list. When people do this, you know that they are looking for high-ticket sales material. They are people who are serious about eventually spending a lot of money. For everybody else, you can purge them off your list. Step number 6, filter your filtered list between buyers and tire kickers. This is where the rubber meets the road. Send a $1 offer for some sort of basic PDF report you made. You may even compile some blog posts and sell it in a $1 PDF. However you want to do it, segment people in your high-value list into 2 camps, buyers and information seekers. Give the information seekers one final chance by setting them up with a 5-day update program. If they don't convert to your buyers list within that 5 days, they get dropped from your lists totally. The key here is to get rid of tire kickers and information or freebie seekers using low-friction sales. Step number 7, scale up your filtration with increased friction. Friction in this context involves people spending increasing amounts of money. Your buyers list is tried and proven only to the point that these people are willing to pay $1 to be on that list. You should then further segment that list by sending opportunities that cost more. Maybe you go from $1 to $20, then from $20 to a couple of $100. Keep ramping it up and prepare them for the big sale. Just repeat the process I have outlined above to get them ready for that big sale. Don't drop the big sale offer in the beginning. You can use it as a redirect offer. When people buy, they get a confirmation page, and that confirmation page would have that big offer, or at least talk up the big offer. This is how you play the game, where the longer people stay on your mailing list, the more value you build. Step number 8, give your buyers list what they're looking for. Your buyers list members are basically looking for assurance. Give it to them in the form of high-value content. Give it to them, believe it or not, in the form of filtering using ever-increasing sales pages. And take good care of them. This means making yourself available in terms of customer support. You build a community around your buyers list. The shortcut to high-ticket sales. In video 7, I stepped you through the process most marketers go through to master high-ticket sales. As you can tell, it's not exactly smooth nor easy. However, for the longest time, this is how most marketers learned. They had to learn the hard way. They had to pay their dues. In fact, the process is so hard that the vast majority of people who tried their hand at high-ticket sales end up dropping out or settling for mediocre results. It's fairly rare for somebody to become really successful doing things the hard way. Still, After some time, a significant portion of people would graduate from getting mediocre results to getting better results, but it can take quite a bit of time. In fact, for too many people, it takes too much time and involves too much experimentation. No wonder too many marketers just give up. Thankfully, there's a better way. It's always a good idea to start out with high-ticket sales by learning the ropes. You have to learn how to do the basics. You have to learn how to sell online, how to find the right niche, and how to create content that would appeal to your customer base. You have to know the basics of segmenting your audience, so you know what to expect. Once you're familiar with all the different parts of online high-ticket sales, this is the point in time where you should start looking for a shortcut. Don't do it before this point. This is extremely important. You have to go through the process of learning high-ticket sales the traditional way. But once you have a good understanding of all the different moving parts and everything that's involved in the process, then and only then should you start thinking about shortcuts. Use these shortcuts to take your high-ticket sales marketing efforts to a whole new level. I share these shortcuts with you because it's too easy to get stuck. It's too easy to feel like you're just banging your head on the wall, and in frustration, you drop everything. A lot of people who try high-ticket sales or affiliate marketing in general go through this process. A lot of them never come back. A lot of them just quit. I don't want you to be one of those people. While it is important to learn how everything fits together and to have a general understanding of how to sell online, you can't just stay there. You can't continue to stubbornly do things the hard way when there is an easier way available to you. What is this secret? What is the shortcut? It's very simple. Reverse engineer existing high-ticket players in your target niche. In other words, find your competitors, figure out which one of them is successful, and do what they're doing by fitting it into what you know about high-ticket sales. Seems pretty straightforward, right? It is. First, you need to find your most successful competitors. This is pretty straightforward. At this point, you already know what keywords are related to your niche. Enter them in Google. Find as many competing websites as possible. Next, enter the domain names of your competitors into tools like Alexa Site Info. Alexa will give you a rough ranking of your competitor. This ranking should give you a general idea of how well they do in terms of traffic. But you shouldn't stop with Alexa. You should also take your competitor's domain and plug them into SEMrush. SEMrush will tell you how well they're doing when it comes to SEO. Putting all these data sets together, you can get a good idea which of your competitors are getting a lot of traffic in your niche and which ones are struggling. Learn from the winners. Filter your list and focus on a fairly small number of competitors. These should be the runaway winners of your niche. They should leave pretty much everybody else in the dust as far as traffic goes. Again, we're estimating traffic based on Alexa score and search engine visibility provided by tools like SEMrush.com. What to look for? Now that you have your shortlist going, study the following features of your competitors. Their content strategy. What do they write about? What do they focus on? What themes keep cropping up among all your major competitors? Their ads. What kind of ads do they normally show? Do they push services or merchandise or both? Are these ads for high-ticket items or do they mix in low-ticket items? Do they openly advertise their $1 or buyer list products? Their mailing list strategy. Do they have a mailing list? Join their mailing list and see if they segment or filter their main mailing list into smaller lists. Do they use $1 items to create buyers lists? Their ad designs. Pay attention to the text of their ads as well as their formatting. Pay attention to whatever graphics they use in their ads. Their branding efforts. Do they bother to create a brand? Do they actively engage their site visitors in crafting their brand message? Do they talk about brand values? Their social media presence. By social media, I am referring to the broadest definition of that term. Look for your competitors on forums, Facebook groups, Facebook pages, Facebook comments, Pinterest, Instagram, Twitter, SlideShare, and everywhere else. This should give you a fairly clear view of their traffic sources. Their SEO footprint. Enter the domains of your competitors in SEMrush and look for their backlinks. This should give you a fairly clear idea of just how optimized they are for search engines. Make sure you go through the list above. Don't skip an item. You need to reverse engineer all your competitors using the list above so you can be properly informed as to how they got to the position they're in. This information will also function as a roadmap for your marketing efforts later on.
That's it for this video today, and thanks for watching. If you like this video, then please subscribe and hit the bell of notification, so you will get notification as soon as I upload a new video. I wish you best luck for all your future projects. See you later next time.